Really neat.
I call this meeting of Central Florida Facilitators Toastmasters Club 9958 to order. Thank you all for being here tonight. Are there any new guests here?
New guests.
Yes.
Okay, the restrooms, make a left, first hallway, make another left, all the way down to your right. Please shut off all your cell phones, including mine. At Toastmasters, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Through this mission, each Toastmaster gains a clear understanding of the club's purpose. The organization as a whole benefits from a shared set of values and goals. Please help me welcome our thought and pledge leader this evening, Micki D.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. It is a pleasure to be here with you. As you know, tonight's theme is what I know for sure. So I found a very nice thought, very wise thought by Khalil Gibran. The teacher who is indeed wise does not lead you to enter the house of his wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your mind. Please rise for the pledge. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah, we can clap. There is a change in the agenda. I was supposed to be the accountant.
I'll get to that. You're going to do the education moment now?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm here to write down all your notes. So all you have to do is talk with people.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to do the educational moment instead. I take advantage of, thank you, Nathan. He came all the way from Saudi Arabia to be here with us tonight. As your VP of Education, I am supposed to make sure that each of you, especially the new members, has a mentor who would guide you through the manuals and make sure you complete all projects and make sure you understand and learn from these projects. And because I didn't have the time to do this in the past,
Don't say stuff like that. So get to the point. Speech number 3.
what I'd like to do is better organize this program. So I would like to ask you if you have a mentor. I would like to ask not each of you, but members that feel need a mentor. So let's start with James.
I do have one, Stephen Morgan.
Stevens, okay, great. Mark,
I believe mine is Gail.
you believe. Gail?
He
Did
is
you believe
mine.
correctly? Okay. Okay, Alan.
Yeah.
It's been going this week, okay? John and Toni, yes?
Yes.
Okay, good, very good.
Sorry.
Renju.
Gail Smith.
Gail. Gail's a busy girl. Okay. And any, Linda, you're not new?
Willie.
Willie.
Toni.
Okay. And you use a lot of people, right?
Yes, ma'am. The entire club, I was going to say.
Okay, good example of asking for help, getting coaching. Awesome. Who'd we miss? Anybody? Jorge, you want a mentor?
Many fellows might like
Well, okay. Lynn, you're good.
I can't use it.
Pat, you're good. Okay. Anybody have anything else to say?
I would like a mentor. I feel like a new mentor. You're my mentor.
We got it, yeah. You didn't ask me for help all session, all 6 months. I kept asking, do you need any help? Okay, any advanced members who would like a mentor? Gail, yeah. You raise your hand every time.
I know.
Do you have a preference?
Who wants to take me on?
What is it you're looking for?
Yeah, stand up. Tell us what you're looking for. You've been a member for a couple of years.
A few years.
A couple of dozen.
Couple decades?
A couple of dozen almost. I am looking for help in how to not necessarily memorize my speech, but to give it without my notes and prompts. I'm so reliant.
Good, I need that too, so I can't mentor.
There we go.
Gail and Toni are both asking for mentors. Please get back with us. Charlie? Yeah? Okay. All right. Anything else?
It is about the forms that I need to bring with me. So there are some
That's
forms.
okay. We got it done.
I'm going to update Easy Speak with all this information, and next week I'm going to bring those forms.
Okay.
For us
And
to go.
then you're going to teach us how to use Easy Speak.
Yes.
That'll be your final speech.
Yes.
Okay, and the purpose of a mentor she mentioned, but it's also, when you're new, there's a lot of roles, you don't quite get it, you're trying to observe everything that's going on, and it's not all sinking in yet. So we do like to, I know as a Toastmaster, I'm trying to support people who are in new roles or, don't seem to be fulfilling the whole Toastmaster agenda. Thank you. What else?
Thank you.
Okay, turn the lectern over.
Pick it up, turn it over.
Now I'd like to invite to the lectern our president, Mr. Jonathan Dan.
Thank you, everybody, being here tonight. It is completely awesome to look out and see everybody here. This is what it's all about. And to have Mayfa back is great. We have a guest named Gary. Gary, would you stand up and just share with us how you made it here at Wire?
Well, I didn't hear the rest of your question.
Just how you found your way here and why you're here.
I found my way here via meetup.com. I'm looking for a Toastmasters group. I knew there was one that meets over in Altamont and Toast High Board.
There's
First watch.
First lunch,
Yes.
yeah.
Articulators.
Thursday mornings, yes.
Okay. But I ended up here first.
Good, thank you.
And why Toastmasters?
I need to get over, I work for myself, so I need to get over nervousness and fear of speaking like I'm having right now. And I need to find out why. I'm really trying to find out the real reason why. And get up there and be able to speak. It's actually promote my business. I go to networking groups like the Chamber of Commerce and things like that. And everybody gives their little 30-second elevator speeches, and I'm sitting there going, "Don't call me, don't call me." I just run out of time. Oh, we're out of time? Oh, great. I'll go last. It doesn't have to be me. I need to be up here and being able to speak properly. And I feel that's what I can get out of this.
Thank you. Gary, you're at a safe place. We're glad you're here. That's a very common need when someone steps in these doors. And you are at a table with a bunch of people that are authorities on the subject. So as far as questions go, just ask away and observe, and we're here for you. We are called the facilitators for 3 primary reasons. We are sponsored by the Central Florida chapter of the American Society of Training and Development, the premier organization for professional facilitators. A good facilitator needs to be a strong communicator and an effective leader, and Toastmasters is all about communication and leadership. To facilitate means to make things easy and possible. And we want to make things easy and possible for each and every one of you tonight. So once again, we're glad you're here. Welcome. If you are in a leadership role, and we know a lot of you are, and you have one of these, please pass your manual off to somebody so that we can get that book filled up and get you progressing forward. June 11th, we have our elections for the upcoming 6 months. Please make sure you're here. It'll be a very exciting night. Please bring a guest. That leads into June 25th when we're going to have our 6-month end banquet and incoming officer and our awards banquet. Micki, you're the chairperson for that event, so if you could just stand up and brief everybody where you're at, and if you need anything, to speak up now.
It is fun to organize a banquet, especially when you get to choose the theme. This time, the theme is black and white. So I kindly ask you to wear only black and white at our banquet. It's better than a sports theme to wear shorts and t-shirts, or a beach party to wear swimwear. So please be with me and wear black and white at our banquet. It's going to be on the 25th here. Stephen is the master of ceremony. Gail is helping with decorations. I guess you are going to meet someone. Toni is helping with, I forgot.
In general.
In general. And Pat and Sarah are helping with the food. So we will have fun. I may ask you in time, or they may ask you to bring sides, but the main dishes we're going to buy. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's truly going to be an awesome night. Stephen is a phenomenal master of ceremonies. Come to that event and do not come alone. Share with the world what you've got going on here. It's going to be spectacular. We have a very busy agenda tonight, so we're going to launch into it. Toni G has been a member of Central Florida Facilitators since 2004. She was previously a Toastmaster in 1997 in the Chicago area. Toni chose the theme tonight, What I Know for Sure, out of a desire to share some of her thoughts on this topic as well as hear the wisdom from the members. One thing Toni knows for sure is that her mother would never have given a speech without her encouragement. Her mom has now written and given 3 speeches in the process of coaching her mother on the content, humor, and presentation were some of the best moments they have ever spent together. Her mother concurs. Please welcome our Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster, Toni G.
Welcome to our Toastmasters meeting this evening. The theme, as Jonathan said, is What I Know for Sure. I sent an email to most of you, I think got it. What I Know for Sure is the title of a column that Oprah Winfrey writes in the O magazine on a monthly basis. I've been reading the magazines for, I don't know, there's a pile beside in my house, so years. And this is one of the most fascinating aspects to me of the magazine, because here she shares her wisdom. She shares her wisdom with the people that are successful, that have been out in the world, that have failed and succeeded over and over again, and really have learned something about life why we're here, what our purpose is. And it's really the questions that, I don't know, I started asking myself back in college when somebody said, you should know the answers to these questions. Why are you here? What is your purpose? And back when I was a girl, it was a long time ago, you see. So we didn't have the internet. We had encyclopedias. We didn't have a lot of books on self-improvement. So it was really a mystery to me. So I really appreciate where we are today with all of the information that's available to us. Let's get to know our functionaries. Our grammarian this evening is Mark Lafferty. Lafferty?
As grammarian, today I have chosen the word of the day, which is auspicious. There should be several of these floating around. If you don't have one in front of you, your neighbor probably does. It's an adjective, promising success, favored by fortune. A couple examples. His brilliant acceptance speech was an auspicious start to his political career. I will keep track of those who use the word of the day. Those who have a chance to speak and do not use the word of the day will be fined 25 cents. Except guests and members who have not yet given their icebreaker speech, you will not be fined. I will also listen for colorful imagery and exceptional use of vocabulary and grammar. And if I can, I will report on that and make suggestions where I see improvements can be made.
Thank you. Our this evening is James Rigg. James, tell us about your role.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. One of the skills Toastmasters practice is expressing a thought within a specific time. As timer, I am responsible for monitoring time for each speaker in each meeting segment. I will operate the timing signal indicating to each speaker how long he or she has been speaking. For our prepared speeches, to qualify for voting, speakers must speak not less than 30 seconds under their range minimum and not more than 30 seconds over their range maximum. I will turn on the green light as such when you have reached the minimum for your speaking assignment. When you're at the mid-range, I will turn on the yellow light. And when you have reached range maximum, I will turn on the red light. For evaluations, thank you. For evaluations, or evaluators to qualify, they must speak a minimum of 1 minute, 30 seconds, and a maximum of 3 minutes, 30 seconds. The table topics will be at 1 to 2 minutes, and I have 3 speeches down today. The first one is Willie at 5 to 7 minutes. The second one is Alan at 5 to 7, and the third is Stephen at 6 to 8. So, if there are any changes, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Mr. Timer, I have one request.
Ma'am?
Please notice the times on the side of the agenda and give me some kind of signal if we're more than 3 minutes behind.
Will do.
You can raise your hand, I'll call it. We have an auspicious individual as our on-counter today. Meifa Chen is already doing over there.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I want to correct my name. My auspicious name is Meifa Chen. My job is to keep track of all clutches such as R, and double clutches, the repetition of a word, while the speaker searches for the next thought. I will also note sentences strung together with brief words like and, or, so, and I will sound the buzzer. I already did. When any of these infractions are heard, the fine for each infraction is 10 cents. Guests and members who have not yet done their icebreaker will not be buzzed or fined. Thank you.
Thank you. Our supervisor of elections, one of our newest members, Renju J, and Micki is going to assist you, support you.
Thank you. As a vote counter, I will pick up your ballots for best speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluator, and most improved speaker. I will tally the results for award presentations at the end of the meeting. I will also pick up any comments you might have written for the speakers or any meeting participant and deliver the comments to the appropriate person. Thank you, my Toastmasters.
One of the things I know for sure is that your relationship with your parents is one of the most important relationships that you will have your entire life. And if your mother is going to live to 97, you really want to have a good relationship with her. This I know for sure. My mother has needed me to be a caregiver the last 10 years, and while there's been some difficult times when she's almost died, I've been by her side a great deal. Some of these moments have been some of the most rewarding moments. And in fact, she wrote her icebreaker speech while we were in the emergency room waiting to see the doctor. That's how it's like, let's get our mind off of this. What would you say if you were to talk before our group? So they're really a lot of fun times. I could talk a lot about it. But think about that and if you don't have a mother or father, adopt someone. There are plenty of people, and I'll tell you, they're in this building. They can use a son or a daughter to come visit, honestly. Let's get on with our program and our speakers today. New to public speaking, the cosmetology industry and home ownership, which are exciting and yet very intimidating, Willie finds peace and comfort in returning to what he knows for sure. Going into his 10th year as a licensed massage therapist, he has reached a special inner skill level where the massage chair becomes an extension of him in bringing peace through the massage. Today, Willie will educate us on how to give a professional grade 5-minute massage with the help of our Toastmaster, Toni G. He will perform his 3,114th massage. Please welcome Willie Naranjo. How did you get this? I was on the phone calling everyone, saying, is there anything I can do for you?
Volunteer for Toastmaster.
Yeah. Do you want, just let me know.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the Toastmasters. So, this is the big day. I'm speaking in front of everybody. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm just tightening up, Gary. I'm just like this right now. Exactly how you were feeling. Now, everybody can tell you, take it easy. Relax. Again, Miss Gail, thank you so much for telling me those words. But then at times, comes where I'm still just like that. So now, this is where I bring the big guns. This is where I bring my hands. And I am going to show you how to give a proper 5-minute massage that is going to take away all of that stress. So, the first thing I'm going to do, which I placed right over here, and my hand sanitizer. Sanitize first the hands. Sanitation is key at times. Okay, madam.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Yeah, am I supposed to?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. No, ma'am. Let me have your glasses too, Ms.
Yeah,
Toni.
thank
I'm
you.
going to place them right here. Okay, so let's do the proper chair massage for today. Get your face cradle, ma'am, and we are going to go just like this. Bring it down a little bit. And let's place
got you just like so. How was that? Okay, everybody, so this is the first step, okay? It's just taking a deep breath with the client. And afterwards, it is the resting position. I am here and you are in a safe place. And then from here, we are just going to go just like so into the trapezius muscle. Bring it in now, Mr. Jorge, just like so, sir. Nice and firm. Nice and firm. So we're going to do that for about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then from here, Mr. Charlie, here is going to go from right onto the deltoid muscle. So we go from here, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And always breathing with the client. Relaxing, breathing out. From here, onto the tricep, and bringing it just like so. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Continuing all the way down. The most important thing about giving a massage, everybody, is that it has to be nice and slow. It is not a race. I'm not going down the arm. I'm going down as if it is a waterfall, flowing down into the elbows. So from here, I can go and I can bring it down and out, just like so. I can grab the arm and I can focus on the joint. And all this is going to help out with the functions of keyboard writing and of the such as well. So just going to lift up the arm as well and bring it towards us. And also continuing with the massage all the way out and just give it a good stretch. And this right here is for the blood circulation. Bringing it down like so. We're going to go onto the other side as well. Continuing down. Bring it out. Just like so. Stretch it. And just focus on the elbow. The history of massage dates back to approximately thousands of years ago. It has been at times of the Greeks and also of the Romans. This is actually a Swedish massage. So it has gone back to over 5,000 years ago. And as we finish the fingers, we again are going to curl up the arms and onto the trapezius muscle. And from here, we can proceed towards the cervical area. And as we can see here, it is always on the tip of the fingers. So it's just a firm pressure. And this right here is going to relieve all of the tension of the neck. These are the cervical muscles, the tiny little muscles that crisscross all along the occipital. And we're going to go all the way onto the scalp. This is where you make your money. Because everybody has that tension in the scalp area. Everybody always has a lot of things on their mind. If it's not about the speech, it's about bills. And this is where you can really relax somebody. So, as we go up to the cranium area, we're just going to follow our fingers all the way along the grooves of the skull. and coming toward the center back of the scalp area. And I have to be sure that I'm not going to mess up your hair, Miss Toni, so I'm just going nice and softly. Okay? Yes, ma'am, we're going to continue down, and we are going to end at the trapezius muscles again, and we are going to continue the nodding for just 5 more seconds. And as we are going to finish this, you're going to take a deep breath. Exhale. Let's do one more, Miss Toni. Take a deep breath and exhale. And you are going to rise up. Nice and easily. And ma'am, I hope that has relaxed you a little bit more. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Do I need to take over as Toastmaster?
I was thinking I needed an assistant. Mr. Timer, please put 1 minute on the clock. Please take on your ballots. There's a place for you to write comments for our speaker. I'm sure he would enjoy knowing what you thought he did well, and if you have any suggestions for his next speech or for improvement. This guy's a sponge, so write him down. Willie doesn't know this, but I have been getting massages between 2 and 4 a month for the last 40 years. They have gotten me through life, as well as my chiropractor has also done the same for me. So I really appreciate that, but it will not substitute for the 1 hour massage.
Oh, no.
Another thing I know for sure that my dad taught me when I was in college. He said, when you go to work, give 110%. I said, well, how do you give 110%? You know, I know what giving 100% would be. It's like doing what you're told, doing the job, doing the best possible thing. And he said, well, the other 10% is do something extra. Do something that differentiates you from the rest of the employees. And you will be noticed, and you will succeed, and you will be promoted. Totally true in my experience. I bring that wisdom to Toastmasters. And one of the ways I do that is that I spend a lot of time on the agenda. And I forgot to point out that on your agenda are the speech titles, the projects, and the objectives of the projects. Because I felt, and maybe not all of you feel this way, but if you know the objectives of the speech, you actually listen a different way for, is this person fulfilling the speech? Or Renju, you will eventually give speech number 3. Here's a great example of a speech that has the objectives of speech number 3. You'll see an icebreaker tonight. So as you prepare for your icebreaker, you'll have a model. You don't have to do it exactly the same, but it gives you that extra bit of information that we hope will help you reach your goals a little bit sooner. I thought Willie's introduction was great. That's another thing when you're participating in Toastmasters. John has mentioned this a number of times. I believe Gail probably has, and Stephen has. We've been here long enough to know how important it is. Alan texted me his introduction, and I didn't get one, and he said, just say I need no introduction.
That worked so well last time.
What I know for sure, because I have been introduced that way to large audiences, is that it sucks. It's like the worst introduction introduction, and I could kill the people
right,
who in their hand have a written introduction to talk about my credentials and set up my speech for success. So I finally got a little bit out of him. That's the kind of coach I am, so watch out. You don't want me in your face, you don't want me. Our next speaker is going to offer some tips about the food industry and how you can make healthier decisions when shopping for food. He is from Over the Top Fitness. I asked him who his audience is so he could narrow his topic a little bit, and he said, well, it's our group tonight, because you're a typical cross-section of consumers. You're a typical cross-section of really smart people, actually. So please welcome Alan Lambert.
All right. Stop! Don't buy that. The label on the back reads phenylketonuria contains phenylalanine. My college biology professor said to avoid this because it's a neurotoxin. I said this as I scolded my mom, and then I marched down back to the deli section where she grabbed that sugar-free Jell-O, and I put it back and I replaced it with the regular one. Are you one of the millions of people falling prey to the food industry's marketing gimmicks? I believe you are, and that's the purpose of my speech this evening, is to make you more aware of the gimmicks they're using and give you some tips so you can have an auspicious experience for yourself and set yourself up for success the next time you go to the grocery store. The problem with the food industry today is that companies are only interested in getting you to buy their product. If you go to any grocery store, there's aisles upon aisles of low nutrition, high processed foods. And I got a cool story. Just the last week, I was at Publix shopping, and I picked up a carton of cranberry juice. I was getting excited because it was on sale, and I look at it, and it said 27% juice from concentrate. And now the really sad part about this is that was actually one of the better alternatives because at least it didn't have any extra sugar or corn syrup added to it like the other half a dozen I looked at. So, along with that, food distributors also leverage their buying power at the grocery stores with their large displays and their shelving as they monopolize their space, and it pushes the lower profile products, usually the better food decisions, to the far top or bottom. This can make things difficult for anyone who may have a hard time, reaching up or bending down, or maybe just somebody that has a hard time with their vision and vision problems. And also, let's not forget about the packaging that food companies use to make their products seem better than they really are. Nearly every food you encounter has some type of general food like all natural or fresh, when really there's nothing fresh about it. I mean, okay, let's think about it, John. Do you really want me to give this to you? It says fresh, but really, what is fresh about this? What's fresh about these mushrooms when there's been a half a dozen additives in here and it's been sitting in a jar for 6 months? There's really nothing fresh about it. And let's not forget about how everything's labeled fat-free or sugar-free or reduced this or reduced that. Well, if you ask me, the only thing that's apparent is that the food is overly processed and now it is nutrient-free. So any nutritional value that the food originally had has been stripped away and negated and by all the added preservatives. These obvious problems with the food industry today contributes to the poor dietary decisions made by most consumers in our country today, and the effects on our society are very apparent, as it's estimated that over a third of Americans over the age of 20 are considered obese. And according to an analysis by the National Institute on Aging and scientists from the International Longevity Center, the average American could have their life expectancy reduced by 5 years due to obesity and poor eating habits. So what can we do about this? What can we do to help us have a more auspicious trip to the grocery store and set ourselves up for success? Well, I've come up with some basic guidelines. First and foremost, make sure that you eat a nice, satisfying meal before you make out a grocery list or decide to go grocery shopping. That way, you'll be much less likely to make an impulse buy on a food that you don't really need. Second, when you're at the grocery store, avoid the middle aisles as much as possible. Most of the fresh fruits, vegetables, dairy, fish, seafood are on the outside. Third, read the labels very carefully and accurately. Try to select foods that are made or grown locally, or at least in the U.S. And if you're buying fish or seafood, look for it to see that it's been wild caught. Last but not least, when you find yourself deep in the trenches of the grocery aisles trying to make the best decision on what to buy, look all the way up and down the shelf to see all the products that are available and select the ones with the least amount of ingredients or additives. As a general guideline to follow, if it has more than 4 or 5 different ingredients, or if it has any hard pronunciation words listed on the back, then you're better off just leaving it on the shelf where you found it. So by practicing these techniques and keeping it simple when it comes to food selection and choices, I'm confident that you'll be able to set yourself up for success on your next trip to the grocery store and take the first step necessary towards improving your overall diet. Madam Toastmaster. If you really want it, here you go, Joe. I don't want to deprive you of your nutrient strip overall.
I was trying to add some comments for Alan.
Was that short? Not that bad.
Well, 1 minute on the clock. Versatility is our last speaker. Stephen is a self-employed software engineer doing contract work with Apple, a professional hypnotist and hypnosis trainer, an NLP trainer, a website hoster, and a member and officer in 2 Toastmaster clubs. In what free time he can imagine having, Stephen also pursues interests in the internet, singing, board games, movies, excuse me, books, his wife, not in that particular order, right, Stephen? And their 2 dogs and 5 children. We think he breathes once in a while, but we're not absolutely sure about sleep. Please welcome Stephen Morgan giving an icebreaker speech titled Binge.
Mother's Day 1983 had a very inauspicious start. Because what happened that particular day, as my mom likes to tell often enough, was that I had to go into the hospital. I ended up in the hospital with an infection in the lungs, and they did not know why or what to do. A few days later, when you went in to see me, I ended up with a chest tube hanging out one side, a tube going down my nose to pump my stomach because I wasn't passing through, as well as the IV. It was not pleasant. And the best that my parents could do were trying to find a way to keep me comfortable. At one point, my dad ended up bringing in a few comic books he picked up at the drugstore. One of them happened to be an issue of Flash, the guy who runs really fast, that guy, yes. And I found it very interesting, especially since one of the characters in the story itself was the Reverse Flash, who I recently realized actually was responsible for the death of Flash's wife. There was a lot more depth to these characters than the cartoons that I used to see as a kid on Saturday morning. I ended up following that thread for a little while as a few more issues came out. Flash kills Reverse Flash to save his fiancée from being killed, leading into an entire arc, which was an engaging story I enjoyed watching. And then I would lead into picking up other comic books along the way. Got into the new Teen Titans. And this was at a time when the formats of comics at the time were changing from the newsprint 4-color style to the much thicker paper, multicolor printing all the way out to the edge and very high graphic art. It was shifting to something much more artistic. And the stories were far more engaging. In fact, in the Teen Titans at the time, those storylines were winning awards, along with the art to go with it. I still have those particular issues. They are worth quite a lot. And the art themselves, even if you don't follow the stories, is beautiful. In some cases, terrifying, because those stories do get a bit creepy at times. The characters that you come across, these are the types of stories that back in ancient Greece would be the stories that you were telling of the gods. You have the epic heroes and the very evil villains. People who are in between, some who are elevating, some who are falling. Storylines that could stretch over years that build up to a climax that can be very incredible. And a couple of years later, an entire one-year story arc that brought in all the characters throughout that particular publisher's universe, where they killed off the vast majority of them and changed everything around. This was the kind of thing I enjoyed. Now, I'd always enjoyed following the heroes, and the colorful costumes were interesting, but it was always the stories that made this the most interesting part of reading through the comics. Some of these stories eventually would translate into movies, and these days, as we've noticed, special effects have made telling some of these stories possible where they were not before. When I followed the arcs lately of, for example, the Avengers movies and the X-Men movies, some of those stories could not have been told until today, although they were told in the comics 25 years ago or further. They are still excellent stories, for the same reason that the stories of ancient Greece are still great stories to tell today. Now, if you noticed this past week, I was sniffling a bit at the meeting last week, and that was a minor virus that was knocking me down for a couple of days. My wife had gone out of town, and my son was with me this past weekend. I'd had this idea, well, we'll have time, we can go out, we can catch Disney, go see some movies perhaps, depending on what's available, but the virus had another plan. Sadly, I was off on my feet, and sitting down. Now, I'd already gotten my son to watch some cartoons with me with Netflix, pulling him up. Now that we had time sitting there, we were watching through one of those. And as it turned out, this was actually bringing in many of those characters from the Teen Titans stories I had read 30 years ago. And it was fun to watch, and he's enjoying watching it. And as we finish one, I'm not about to get up and go anywhere. We would just move on to another and another. This happens to be an entire series, so we were watching through seasons of this particular show. And I'm still seeing the same kind of thing. We're still seeing these interesting characters, these long story arcs with leading up to great climaxes, but individual characters with their flaws and the interrelationships that are being told. Heroes are not perfect, but they're trying to do the right thing. Villains are not always evil, but they're not always out to help you. And in the end, when the big twist that turns around, you know that heroes are putting their lives on the line. But in those Saturday morning cartoons, everything always comes out rosy. Not always so, because in the end, some of those characters did die, sacrificing so that others would have a chance to live. The hallmark of the epic hero. 31 years ago, when I was 12 years old, I was getting this out in comic books. My son is 12 now. And as we're binging through the cartoons this past weekend, easily over 24 hours worth, I was able to sit there with him, talking to him about the stories that I knew, why things were this way, why would characters behave this way, why is it a little bit different? Why would you make those choices, or would you choose something different? It wasn't perhaps the same way as much fun as going out to Disney, but in many ways it was a lot more insightful. The start for summer vacation for him, a weekend at home as it turned out for us, but along the ways I got to share the things that I was doing at his age, and getting him to understand a little bit of the way I would think, the things that I experienced, and the feelings and thoughts that go through my own head. And he has a few of the same, and he has a few that are different. But he's gotten to learn a little bit about how a good story can be told. It starts with the characters. It has a strong plot. You need the conflict. And you need a story arc that can lead people in getting them more and more engaged. Especially because when you get to the end of that one episode, you want them grabbing for that next one. Back when I was young, you had to wait another month for the next issue to come out. These days, when you're watching your shows, you have to wait for the next week. I've stopped watching TV that way. By the time I'm wanting to get into something, it's usually because it's all been done, and now I'm going to go and be able to sit there and watch it at the pace that I want. I like to binge. But it's a good and healthy binge that I'm aiming for. And I would suggest it for all of you. Take a look at those stories, learn about it, share them. And that's where you're going to find a lot of growth can come. Thank you.
Please write some comments for Stephen. And I'd like to tell Richard what I know for sure is I wish I had a dad like him who shared his childhood, who shared stories, who interpreted things for me. My dad did not have a good childhood, and so he chose not to talk about it at all. And he chose to lead and teach me by example, and he was an awesome example of how to behave in the world and how to be successful. So I got that part. James, how about a timer's report for our speakers? With your comments, writing comments for our speakers.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. With Willie's speech, where there is a chair, there is a massage. His required time was 5 to 7 minutes. The actual time was 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Unfortunately, he did not qualify. Alan's speech, setting yourself up for success, how to make healthier choices at the grocery store. The required time was also 5 to 7 minutes. The actual time was 7 minutes and 2 seconds, and yes, he did qualify. And our last speech from Stephen Binge, his required time was 6 to 8 minutes. The actual time was 8 minutes and 22 seconds, and he also did qualify.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please vote for, let's clap for James. And let's vote for Ellen or Stephen for best speaker. I just want to make a note to our newer members and our guests. Normally the icebreaker speech is 4 to 6 minutes. I thought we were going to have extra time because I forget I talk so much and have so much fun up here. So Stephen, I offered Stephen a few extra minutes if he wanted it. He took it. So that's how we got to 6 to 8. So we've had our timer's report. We've had our voting. My apologies to Gail. I hope you have plenty of time. Yeah, I know you've got about 20 questions. I got her prepared. One of the things that I did in my overachieving mode, that 110%, was that I called everybody that was on the schedule. And I had some nice conversations and explained what the theme was about, but also what I know for sure is that Jorge wouldn't be here if I hadn't called him and invited him, because he told me that. What I know for sure, writes Gail Hill-Smith, is that I am a lifelong learner because I know so little in the big scheme of things. What do they call that? Jack of all trades, master of none. Despite her frailties, our Table Topics master will find out what you know for sure. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Gail Hill-Smith.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Are you all ready to reveal possibly some life's truths? Well, if you are, too bad, because you probably will. Before we get into the topics, again, if our timer will keep me on track with my allotted time, but I would like to explain, primarily for our new members and particularly our guest Gary, what is a table topic and what in the world is a table topic master? Our rules change every week in Toastmasters. Table topic master will take the theme that has been selected by the Toastmaster and prepare short topics from which I will select someone to respond to. In that 1 to 2 minutes you speak, we are looking for you to use the word of the day. We are looking for some structure in that short speech. In other words, an opening, body, conclusion, body gestures if necessary. With that, after we have a few demonstrations of table topics, Gary, would you conceivably agree to take a topic?
Say no.
No. Think
Definitely
about
maybe.
it. Let him think about it. How that works. Sure. So playing on the theme that our Toastmaster selected this evening, what I know for sure, I went out and beyond just Miss Oprah. I selected a few authors, some poets, and some facts. So let's get the games rolling. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. L.M. Montgomery, a Canadian author. What did you learn for sure by being involved? Jorge.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. What I learned from being involved. That is the only way to learn anything. when the subject I always use coming back to this country. When I was in Bolivia, I never knew where the kitchen was. We had maids. I never knew how to cook. I didn't know anything about food. I just knew the food was there. When I came here to this country, I was all excited to eat hamburgers, hot dogs, which I did, as you can tell. I did a lot of that. I need to follow some of your examples. But after a while, I was missing the food, and I had to call my mom over the phone. How do you do this? How do you fix that? So over the phone was very hard to do. At the time, 30-some years ago, 35 years ago, it was $3 a minute to talk to Bolivia. So she wrote me a letter. So our communication was 2 weeks. And the way I learned was by practicing and getting involved. I used to follow the recipes. I still have them. And now I do a lot of cooking and I enjoy it. And if you guys need any help for the banquet, maybe I can pick something up.
Okay, Pat and Susan, you heard that. Good committee. Fact. Your nose can remember 50,000 different scents. If you are a woman, you are a better smeller than men, and will remain a better smeller throughout your life. What smell have you learned to enjoy for sure? Micki D.
You know that I don't like it, and you're going to keep asking me questions until I get used to it.
You got it.
The smell that I would enjoy,
That you have learned to most enjoy.
the smell of food. It doesn't matter what it is. It is food, and I love to eat. Soups, steaks, desserts. I'm all for it. My mom lived with us for a year and a half. Now she moved back to Romania. And because she was getting bored, having nothing to do, she cooked. That way, I gained 15 pounds. But I like the most that she made was tiramisu. It was delicious. Very light, not that sweet, but that very taste of tiramisu. And that's about taste, not about smell. The smell, as said, I like anything that is food related. Madam Secretary.
From Oprah. Who you're meant to be evolves from where you are right now. Learning to appreciate your best lessons, mistakes, and setbacks as stepping stones to the future is a clear sign you're moving in the right direction and letting in the light. What stepping stone or stones have let your light in? Pat Stogner.
Could you repeat the question?
What stepping stones that you have learned because of lessons or mistakes and setbacks that have allowed you to let the light in other words, see past those mistakes or lessons learned?
Stepping stones. I have many. We don't have enough time, so I will have to go do it quickly. What I think I've learned the most about me and my stepping stones is that I'm very quick-witted, and very quick-tongued. So I think that what I have learned the most is that the tongue can be a sword, and you can slice somebody to smithereens. I always say like Zorro 1, 2, 3. With that, I have learned to be kinder, to try to slow down a little bit, think before I speak. And also, what I've also learned is that my quick wit and my quick thought is also a blessing. So I have two sides. And because of my blessings, I have made a difference in this world with many, many people, and that makes me very proud of myself. One, as many of you know, is I'm very involved with the Cancer Society. I'm very involved with women, helping them to look good and feel better while they're going through treatment. I've also volunteered for a lot of different things that we, and without that, with that, I should say, is that I've realized that some of my negative things, I've turned them into a positive. So, hooray for me. Thank you.
Now I ask our guest, Gary, would you like to take a shot at the table topic?
No.
I can say no.
Depends on the question.
Depends on the question.
Depends on the question.
Oh, it's very short. This is a fact. It takes 17 muscles to smile and 43 to frown. Which group of muscles has gotten you through a rough time and why?
Could you read the question?
It takes 17 muscles to smile, 43 to frown. Which group of muscles has helped you through a rough time and why?
Thought about it like that. I'm kind of smiling now because I'm nervous. That means something.
Perfect.
Short answer, I'm not sure.
Sorry. Then let's take that question and why don't we bounce that to, how about Renju?
Miss Gail, do you know that you are my mentor? And I've not given my icebreaker speech yet, so you're trying to get something out of me. All right, so muscles. This muscle, I don't know what you call this, but this muscle was my biggest strength and biggest weakness. I used to play cricket when I was in India back in my college days or school days. And whenever you play on a right-handed batsman, just like baseball, you guys know baseball here, but we don't play much cricket here in the US. So this muscle is something which you use most to play shots. When you play more shots, when you play further, you get more runs. That's cricket, just like baseball. You get home run here, you get to hit far. So this is the muscle which I used to hit sixes, which is the most score you can get on a particular ball. And this is my weakness because it hurts when you play very strong shots. So that's muscle which I want to talk about today. Thank you.
Gail, our time is up.
Okay, we don't have room for any more? No? Oh, darn. All right, that's okay. We had a great selection, great responses. Can our timer tell us who?
Toastmaster. Jorge, learning to cook, spoke for 1 minute and 25 seconds. He qualified. Micki, enjoying the smell of anything related to food, spoke for 1 minute and 24 seconds. She is well qualified. Pat, with her quick wit and sharp tongue, was at 1 minute and 32 seconds as well. She qualified. And Renju, with his forearm and his skills there, at 1 minute and 21 seconds, he also qualified. Thank you, Master. You have lots of Master.
write the name of the individual you felt delivered the best topic. And while you're doing that, I will have our Toastmaster come forth and take control of this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Now I'm curious what the next question is going to be. The next section of our meeting is the evaluation of the speeches, the evaluation of the meeting, and some fun things. So this will complete our meeting and give us the extra wisdom that we're all here for. Our general evaluator for tonight is a strong advocate of Toastmasters, as he has experienced tremendous growth in self-confidence and public speaking. He believes that evaluation, whether it be of a speaker, an evaluator, or of the meeting itself, is one of the most important and rewarding aspects of Toastmasters. It gives one the opportunity not only to praise, but also the opportunity to offer constructive criticism on how to better oneself or the club as a whole. Please help me welcome Charlie Bombalier, our general evaluator.
Thank you. As we're running a few minutes behind, you already know the role of general evaluator, and at the end of the evaluations tonight, I will go over them more thoroughly. But with no delays, we're going to start with the first evaluation. Linda Earls has an evaluator testimonial. Last week, after hearing the suggestions provided by Toni G, she incorporated them and practiced for a week and a half and re-delivered the speech about frustration to another club. She received the Best Speaker Award for that. The comment about punching up her style meant more to her when she verified it by watching the tape that Steven supplies. She could see she was subdued and her gestures were inhibited. She thought she had taken out all the stops. She realized from hearing others say it and examining her performance that she did not have an accurate self-picture. Each of us can keep an open mind for feedback. Let's see if Willie can benefit from Linda Earls' evaluation. Please help me welcome Linda Earls.
Toastmasters and guests, we saw a very good presentation, and also on this auspicious occasion, you knew it was coming, we saw a demo, and I haven't even seen, I've been in Toastmasters for quite a while, a year and a half, and I have not seen a bona fide demo, and it was done very well. And I thought that the general purpose of this talk was to inform, and the specific purpose was how to. And there is no better way to show how to do something than to show us how to do it. And his body language and everything about him was very confident. His opening made us understand his expertise, so we picked up and listened, because everybody wants to learn how to give a massage. I mean, nobody says, oh, I don't like massage, I don't like being touched. It's something that's universal, everybody wants to do it. And because we want to get massages, we want to learn how to give massages. And it was very informative, and at the pace that you gave it was very good too. Sometimes my hairdresser talks really da-da-da-da-da-da-da, where you just like, shut up, I'm trying to relax over here. But that was given in a way to make us understand how you would even speak during a massage, which was very good. And it was also using a lot of muscle names, trapezes and occipital and all these things, and because you were touching that part, we actually learned what it was. No better anatomy than actually having a full-size model and pointing these parts out. And it would also be good for fellow masseuses to learn, but it was well received by people, by the laymen, so to speak. One suggestion, if it was truly for laymen, you might want to tell us how we could position a person without a professional chair. It's one thing I can think of. And also, you could show how to get in the chair, not to make the person feel dumb or anything, but like a slight body movement to show which direction faces the right way. If someone truly had never had a massage, might help them out not to feel like an idiot. But I think the way it played out was a little comic relief, so it was nice. It didn't take away from it at all. Very good. The confidence and the gestures and even your outfit with the white top, black bottom, almost like a uniform. It looked very professional. I thought it was very, very good demo. And my favorite part, when you were actually touching the occipital, I think I had that right, I actually felt my head tingling. It was like, this is really bizarre. Like, I'm so into this. It was well done. And he spoke during the whole thing. We didn't have any times where he just left us hanging and was showing us. He talked about the history. He talked about different things that were of interest and fit well. So I thought, top to bottom, excellent. Very good job.
Moving right along, our next evaluator remembers when she was terrified to even get up and say her name at a Toastmasters meeting. Today, she will even evaluate a speech which to her was the most difficult hurdle to jump in the Toastmasters program. Here this evening to evaluate the speech of Alan and Fear, please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster, one and only Susan Morgan.
Good evening, everybody, fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and of course, Alan. I loved your speech. It was so much fun. One of the first things I liked about it is that you made it humorous. And again, that makes it fun, and we get to learn something at the same time. That's a really good thing to say about your speech. I also loved the story about your mom buying sugar-free and you having to go all the way back and get the regular stuff. And I think that was a really nice way to put it. The only things that I thought that maybe you could work on, the first one was because you're nervous. Before you did anything, you cleared your throat. So try to remember not to do that because it kind of takes away from just punching it and starting out. I think you could use even more descriptive words, so you can keep trying to work on that. And then what I have written down here is more practice equals more comfort equals less nerves and rough spots. So there were a few rough spots where you were going through, but all in all, you didn't really notice that. But I think that if you practice a little more and practice in front of the mirror or in front of a couple other people, then it'll start getting a lot smoother, and that will be wonderful. That's for Some of the good things, again, about your speech. What you were supposed to do was avoid jargon and use descriptive words and things like that. It was appropriate. You used simple words and sentences. You avoided jargon. You used proper grammar. The purpose was absolutely clear, crystal clear. And your organization. Your organization was brilliant. You used the rule of three. And
yeah, I had a little help with that. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
You did the products look, you did all natural, fat-free, and then ended up with the funny one, nutrient-free. all your statistics were really good. It was clear, and we learned something from it. You also used the rule of 3, and well, what can we do? We can eat a meal, you can avoid or eat a meal before you go to the store, avoid a middle aisle, and read the labels. And then when you're deep in the trenches, one of your quotes that was interesting, look at labels. If it has a hard sounding word, don't buy it. If there's more than 3 ingredients, or if there's more than 5 ingredients, don't buy it. I thought that that was really wonderful. There was one more wonderful thing. Oh, yes. You accentuated buy their product with your finger, and I thought that is good. That's the next speech, so you're already on your way there. Madam, Mr.
This is a very long introduction for our next evaluator. Took a lot of time writing this. Read this fast. Fellow Toastmasters, honorable guests, it is my distinct honor to introduce you to a Toastmaster who evaluates with the precision of a laser beam. Here to teach Stephen Morgan how to go from good to great. It's advanced communications. Jonathan Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, specifically Stephen. What I know is that your icebreaker speech, Binge, was an auspicious ending to our prepared speeches segment. I loved the structure of your speech. Starting with a story, in my humble opinion, is the best way to go. And I loved your story. It was emotional, and it pulled us in, and to the very end, I wanted to know what was wrong with you and why you ended up in the hospital. Your body of your speech kept us guessing. I really wanted to know where it was heading. I wanted to know why your speech was called Binge. And I really thought the ending, that you got sick at 12 years old, and now here your son was 12 years old, and your life was kind of having a Groundhog Day. I thought that was a brilliant way to lead into why your speech was called Binge. And I know in the future, if we have a Toastmasters meeting on the 12th, I'm not going to go anywhere near you. Emerald sometimes cooks really good food, but then he kicks it up a notch. And I've watched enough of your speeches to know that that beginning of yours could have been way bigger. An example that came to my mind. It was Mother's Day. I was 12 years old. What should have been one of the happiest days of my mother's life, it wasn't. Dramatic pause. I'm in the hospital. I've got tubes coming out of every nook and cranny, and nobody knows why. In walks my father with this gigantic stack of comic books, and my life would never be the same. Remiss to tell you that because I know you're capable of much more, but I thought of Emerald Lagasse when I watched your opening. And I've watched you in plenty of contests to know that you're capable of going Godzilla proportions. Your content, masterful use of the English language. I'm in awe of your use of the English language. You weaved me in to when I was 12 years old again in what I was doing, which most of you wouldn't want to see that. As smart as you are, and Stephen is a very high intelligence character, he kept the fog index of his speech at a very appropriate level. As far as content goes, and it was kind of a selfish thing, I still want to know what happened to you and what was wrong. Stephen, you always have a very classy appearance. We're to the delivery portion now. Your body language is so on purpose. It's so effortless. I love and am envy of what you do with your hands. You're really like a maestro up there. Your vocal delivery, you're a technician. The one thing I would correct you on, and it may be tied to your respiratory situation though, you took some really deep inhalations that were somewhat distracting. I love watching you speak, and I look forward to the next. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jonathan. May we have a timer's report, please?
You may, Mr. General Evaluator. Linda Earle's evaluation was at 3 minutes and 17 seconds. She qualified. Susan Morgan was right at the money, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. She qualified. And Jonathan was at 3 minutes and 19 seconds, also qualified. Thank you.
Please don't forget to vote for the best evaluator. Okay, here's for my part. When I walked in and I saw everybody here, it was a great day. Because this is the way each of our meetings should be. The meeting started on time, thanks to our Sergeant at Arms. Everything was prepared perfectly on the tables, thanks to the Sergeant at Arms. I have waited for this opportunity to make a suggestion that I have observed in past meetings, and I'm sure it happens every week. This is only a suggestion from me. When writing out points and suggestions for improvement, write your name on the form. There have been occasions that I have received some pointers that I would have liked to have the opportunity to approach the person and perhaps get more clarification or expand on the points that he or she gave. Unfortunately, there was no name on it, so I didn't know who wrote it. The only person that need not write their name is Mr. Jonathan Dunn, as his auspicious notes are always inspiring to me. Willie, Alan, and Stephen, all three speeches were entertaining and were very well done. I congratulate all three of you. Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster of the day, if you keep this up, you're going to end up being the stand-up comedian, because it gets funnier every week. Excellent job. Table topic master, excellent topic. Really very entertaining. Evaluators, they did their job, they did constructive criticism, and praise to all three of the speakers. Excellent meeting. And now, as we're running a little behind, it's time to relinquish the lectern to our one and only
Functionary report.
I'm sorry, Functionaries Report, please.
You got 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
Timers?
No, already time.
Oh, I'm sorry, the,
Okay, the word of the day today was auspicious, and I heard it from the following people. Toni, Maifa, Stephen, Charlie, who just squeaked it in a couple minutes ago, Linda Earls, and Jonathan Dunn. Alan, you madman, you said it twice, so we owe you a quarter. Not really. Okay,
We're all back soon, so.
colorful phrases. Willie, I liked your use of the waterfall to talk about moving down the arm. And your trapezius. I'm not very good on medical terminology, so that made me think of the circus for some reason. I liked it. Alan, I liked your gimmick, nutrient-free, and Susan also pointed out, you're deep in the trenches, bringing back flashbacks to Kuwait for me for some reason. Stephen Morgan, just like Jonathan said, your use of the word binge I thought was excellent. And just like him, I was in anticipation the whole speech because I was thinking about cheesecake or something like that. But excessive indulgence definitely fit there. And then you had stretch over the years, which I didn't really catch that, the meaning of that. The Pat, I liked your tongue can be a sword. And Jonathan, I took away from you nook and cranny, fog index, maestro, and another medical term, aspiratory.
Respiratory.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Auspicious. I made $4 for the club. Charlie 2, Jonathan 0, Micki D 4, Toni 7, Mark 0, James 2, 没法签我 Willie 4, Alan 6, Steve 2, Gail 0, Linda 8, Susan 4, Gary 5, Jorge 1, Pat 0, and Renju 7. But you don't have to pay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now it's nothing related to the lecture. Great. Yay.
If you haven't already cast your vote for most improved, please do so at this time.
We didn't vote for, most improved?
Motion right now.
And we have some roles to be filled next week for election week. We have room for 2 speakers, and we have 1. Charlie? Okay, thank you, sir. Toni, your electioneer, are we going to, I really don't remember, are you going to go from electioneer, or do we still need a Toastmaster?
I think
Yeah, you'll still need Toastmaster.
I think he wants to do that, yes.
She's just the election,
Yeah.
she's just
I
presiding over
said
the
that.
elections.
I'll start during the business segment and then we'll introduce the Toastmaster who will run the meeting.
Okay, we need a Toastmaster then. Anyone want to step up to the plate? Any of those newbies that were inspired today? All right, I'm going to step up to the plate then. In that case, we only need an odd counter. Pat, thank you. We need a grammarian. All right. And we will need a vote counter. Vote counter. Okay, we'll find out vote counter. That's not a problem. Do we have any announcements that we need to get to on the floor before we hand out the awards for the evening? Yes, Gail, please.
I did send around an email with the proposed slate of officers, and I'm going to put you on the spot. How many of you read the email? How many of you know who is on the slate? I didn't think so, so I brought this to read. For Sergeant of Arms, really, no.